And welcome back to Let's Play Tyrion Cuthbert, Attorney of the Arcane. I'm Wisemimir, and this is still blind. Prosecutor Steelwind, please list the charges. The defendant is Celeste McCoy, a mercenary for hire and a registered mage. Wait, did she just say mercenary? Yeah, I had to take up a job after my family's tavern was shut down. Oh, right. That's not exactly the first occupation you choose. She's charged with second-degree murder and negligent misuse of the arcane arts. I see, so there was magic involved. Yes, the crime occurred within the McCoy Tavern, a local inn that shut down years ago. The locals reported hearing a loud commotion coming from within the building. Hours later, a carriage driver was nearby checked the disturbance. It was then that he found the victim, the defendant's sword still impaling his dead body. The Inquisition has provided an autopsy report and the record of the sword. Autopsy report. Linhart McCoy has been added to your notes. Died after being stabbed from behind with a magical blade. Fatal wound shows heavy traces of transmutation magic. Celeste's sword has been added to your notes. The alleged murder weapon. It's an ornately designed sword, but has no magical properties. What was the defendant's relationship with the victim? I see that they share the same last name. The defendant is the victim's daughter, but not by blood. She was adopted into the family when she was an infant. Her birth parents are currently unknown. I see. What an unfortunate turn of events. To begin, the prosecution would like to call Commander Orem White to the stand. Witness, please state your name and occupation for the court. Name's Orem White. I'm commander of the Arcane Inquisition. Orem, could you please testify about the details of the Inquisition's investigation? That's a tongue twister. Yeah. Witness testimony. We got a call late at night. Someone discovered a dead body inside the McCoy Tavern. When we arrived on the scene, we found Linhart McCoy dead on the floor with the defendant's sword still inside him. We have several witnesses who heard the victim and the defendant in a loud argument before the body was discovered. Their argument must have turned ugly because the defendant killed the victim using her magic sword. Isn't that really incriminating? One of her possessions is the murder weapon. Mr. Cuthbert, you may begin your cross-examination. You open your mouth to respond, but nothing comes out. You can't even think of anything to say, everything is blank. Mr. Cuthbert? Hey, what are you doing? This is the part where you say something, right? I'm sorry, I don't... Your anxiety is just getting worse, and your breaths are becoming more and more desperate. Are you hyperventilating? Yeah. What a disappointment. I was hoping to fight against the infamous Ruby Tamura today. But it's clear you can't even hold a candle to her. Your Honor, it's clear that the defense has nothing to say against the prosecution's overwhelming evidence. Yep, this case is pretty open and shut. No, wait. This isn't what's supposed to happen. I'm sorry, Tyrion. I couldn't acquit Frey. She was found guilty. What? But that means... Are they going to execute her? No. Not again. Are you seriously going to let that happen again? Tyrion. Celeste grabs your shoulders and shakes you out of your panic. You need to calm down. Her gaze is calm and focused despite the gravity of the situation. But she looks stern and angry. I misread that. Not angry. Stern, not angry. Goddamn. I'm sorry, I didn't mean for this to... Stop. Just listen to me. You know what to do, right? Just do it the same way you play chess. What? I don't know, you were just so calm and focused when we were playing before. No matter how close I got to beating you, you always knew how to stay calm and win. So just channel that feeling and look at the pieces. That doesn't make any sense, and yet... stay calm and look at the evidence, right? You take a moment to focus and let everything else disappear from the world. Every statement that he made, every word that came out of his mouth, each of those is a possible weakness you can attack. Every bleak moment can be turned around. You just need to consider every angle. My apologies for the delay, Your Honor. The defense is ready to begin cross-examining the witness. Very well. There we go. Thank God that worked. Carefully examine every statement he has made and find something that contradicts the evidence in your notes. Once you do that, present the contradicting evidence and prove that his testimony is false. You are cross-examining a witness. Careful examination of each statement they made and the statement that contradicts. Right, and find the statement that contradicts a clue, a spell, or a profile in your notes. once you identify the false statement, click the present button and present the contradicting evidence to move forward. We got a call late at night because someone discovered a body inside the McCoy Tavern. At what time did you get this call, and who discovered the body? The call came in at 1:25 a.m. As for the witness who discovered it, he wanted to remain incognito. It's not unusual for a witness to stay anonymous. It's well within their right. But this would be a lot easier if you could call the witness directly. What happened when you arrived, Commander? When we arrived on the scene, we found Flintheart McCoy dead on the floor and the defendant's sword still inside him. And how did you know that the sword was my client's? Her sword is made out of some kind of special alloy. I think it was forged out of the country or something. It'd be hard to mistake something like that. We also have several eyewitnesses who verified that the sword belonged to the defendant. She made no effort to hide it from the public. Quite the contrary, she was quite proud to show it off. But even if the sword belongs to my client, that doesn't necessarily mean that she was the one that stabbed him. Yeah, well, we have several witnesses who heard the victim and the defendant in a loud argument before the body was discovered. How did they know it was my client and the victim that were arguing? You were there, weren't you? You had to have heard them too. Every witness we talked to knew it was them. Well... Your Honor, it's clear that the defense is playing devil's advocate. Even he should have recognized their voices. Well, they've got you there. Their argument must have turned ugly because the defendant killed the victim using her magic sword. Hold on a moment. The sword itself has no magic properties. And while she does know transmutation magic, the sword itself isn't inherently magic. Okay, glad I checked. I do, however, want to press this just to see what happens. That's conjecture. Weren't there plenty of people around who could have committed the crime? That tavern has been closed for years. The defendant, the victim, and Ruby Samora were the only ones there before the body was discovered. Plus, the murder weapon definitely belonged to her. Well, it's a given that Miss Tamora didn't do this, and it'll be hard to prove that someone else was at the crime scene. But you can't help but feel that there's something off about what he just said. You shouldn't have panicked so much before. His testimony is straightforward, but that will actually make this easier. Assuming that Miss McCoy is innocent, there has to be a flaw in his logic. There is, we noticed it. You just need to compare every statement to each piece of evidence in your notes. Once you find the contradiction, present that piece of evidence to the contradicting statement, and we'll be good. Yeah. I haven't actually seen this part of the trial before, but educated guess.
Objection!
Yeah. Commander White, you testified that the victim was killed using the defendant's magical sword. Am I correct? Yeah, it's pretty obvious when you look at the crime scene. I think I'd actually disagree with you on that. The defendant's sword couldn't possibly have been the murder weapon. What are you talking about, kid? The sword was inside his body. Of course that's what killed him. That may be the case, but take a look at the autopsy report. It states that the fatal wound had heavy traces of magic. So how would a non-magical sword leave traces of magic on the body? What? To leave a trace like that, the wound would have had to have been created with something magical. My client's sword may look fancy and expensive, but it is entirely mundane. That doesn't make a lick of sense. If the sword didn't kill him, then why was it in the body? Yes, I find that quite strange as well. Well, there's only one reasonable explanation, Your Honor. The wound was created magically, and someone shoved the sword into the wound afterward. The hell are you talking about? The defendant is a damned mage. And she could have easily killed the victim using magic. That may be, Commander. But why would she kill the victim using magic and then stab him with her sword? It would just be incriminating herself. Now, if anything, this series of events proves one thing. Someone used magic to kill the victim, and then they pushed my client's sword into the wound to frame her. Don't get ahead of yourself. What? Your Honor, the defense is trying to spin the facts in his favor. He claims the third party committed the crime and used the sword to frame the defendant. But wouldn't the simpler explanation be this? Magic was being channeled through the sword at the time of death. That is what left the magical trace on the body. Commander, please tell the defense how the murder was committed using magic. What? Alright. I think I see where you're going with this. This is already off to a great start. It's true that the sword itself isn't magic, but magic can still be channeled through it. The defendant over there, her spell compendium, has a spell called Mage Blade. She must have used it on her sword before stabbing the victim. That spell is the reason why there were traces of transmutation magic on the wound. So her spell compendium contains a spell called Mage Blade. A spell compendium is a magical device that lists every spell a mage can cast. Luckily, Celeste's compendium only contains one spell. That means she can only cast that one spell. Celeste, do you have your spell compendium with you? No, I left it at the tavern after... Well, you know. If you can't look at the description for Mageblade, you'll have to approach this another way. The commander's testimony was a lot vaguer this time. Ah, here's the pressing tutorial. Okay. During cross-examinations, you can press to acquire more information. Sometimes, pressing the right statements can make the witness add a statement to their testimony. I am going to press everything. Are you saying that my client used a spell and channeled it through her sword? There are a vast number of spells that operate like that. Spells from the School of Transmutation are almost always channeled through an object. That defendant over there, her spell compendium has a spell called Mage Blade. Press Mage Blade. It's a transmutation spell that sharpens my sword. I usually use it when I need to cut through an enemy's plate armor. You didn't realize that she led such a lethal lifestyle. I mean, she's a mercenary, it's kind of in the job description. But anyways, wouldn't it be excessive for the defendant to use a spell like that on the victim? He wasn't wearing any kind of armor at the time. The victim and the defendant were in an intense argument. Perhaps she used the spell in a fit of rage. It was a crime of passion after all. Ugh. That theory is a little far-fetched. But you'll need hard evidence if you want to disprove it. Okay. Wait. The game was saying mercenary up till now, and now in profile she's listed as a bodyguard. What? Two different things. Oh well. She must have used it on her sword before stabbing the victim. But why would she go to the trouble of doing that? Her sword alone would have been enough to commit the murder. Mages are always looking for an excuse to throw their power around. There's no rhyme or reason to it. Bullshit. Isn't that just your own personal bias, Commander? We don't need to understand why the defendant did what she did. I call BS on that one, too. The fact of the matter is that magic was present at the crime. Do you have any evidence of the contrary? You don't, yet. And now the statement they want me to press. That spell is the reason why there were traces of transmutation magic on the wound. If she used a spell like that, wouldn't it not have created traces of magic on the ground? How so? Well, let's say we follow the prosecution's theory. That would mean the victim fell to the ground with the sword still inside him. At this point, Mage Blade would still be active, right? It would definitely leave a magical trace on the ground after making physical contact with it. We're already way ahead of you. We had our people scan the crime scene, and we found traces of transmutation magic right under the body. Just like you said. Oh. If you still don't believe me, I have a picture of the crime scene right here. Oh, why was this picture not brought to my attention? There was no need. This entire case is open and shut. Crime scene picture added to your notes. A picture of Linhart McCoy after he was murdered. I want a better look at that. That sorta looks different. You've seen pictures of the dead before, but it feels different now that it feels different now that the body is of someone you knew. It looks like there are traces of magic on the ground. But this shape is a little weird, isn't it? What was that just now? She realized that the sword is a different sword. She killed him with a stab from the front. He was stabbed from behind. Objection! I'm sorry, Commander White. But it seems that you've presented another glaring contradiction. Oh yeah? And what's that? You said that my client stabbed the victim from the front. Am I correct? Yeah, you can see it. Plain in that picture. So, where's your contradiction? That's the thing, Commander. Your picture clearly shows that the victim was stabbed from the front. But, the autopsy report says that he died from a stab from behind. What?
Objection!
Orem, you were supposed to release everything you had. Why wasn't this photo given to me? There was no need. There's no way it could have been anyone other than that damn mage. Murmurs ring out across the gallery. It doesn't matter how corrupt the justice system was. They wouldn't be able to cover up such blatant incompetence. You have them right where you want them. Order in the court. Yeah, I'd like a hamburger, please. Mr. Cuthbert, what is the meaning of this? I'll tell you what the meaning behind this is, Your Honor. As the autopsy report states, the victim died from a stab wound originating from his back. But this photo clearly shows that the sword entered from his front. This can only mean one thing. The sword was inserted into the wound after the fatal wound had already been created. That's crazy. You honestly expect us to believe that? Then please enlighten me, Commander White. How else would the sword be facing the opposite way? Do you think my client stabbed the victim with the hilt of her sword? I didn't think so. What really happened is clear. The real murderer stuck the sword through the victim's wound to implicate my client. But they made a careless mistake and stuck the sword through the opposite side.
Objection!
It appears that I underestimated you, Mr. Cuthbert. I don't know how to pronounce these names. But you still got ahead of yourself. How so? Really, Miss Steelwind. I believe that Mr. Cuthbert has adequately cast doubt on your case. Oh, did he now? Then let me ask you one question, Mr. Cuthbert. If your client didn't kill Flintheart McCoy, then who did? How should I know? If I'm not mistaken, it's a commander's job to figure that out. Oh, I'm well aware of the commander's incompetence. But one fact still stands. There was magic detected on the wound and the sword. Would you like for me to tell you how many mages live in that small town? You don't like where she's going with this. I'm gonna guess just the one. And I'm right, just one. There's only one registered mage in that entire town. I put an emphasis on the wrong word here, but there is a chance that Wait, why am I saying there is a chance? We know who the murderer is. And that mage is your client. What? The defendant was also established to have been with the victim hours before his death. She was the last known person with him, and she was the only mage there. In addition to that, I have several witnesses who heard them arguing. How she murdered the victim is simply an unanswered question. She only had the one spell and it doesn't do what would be required here. I see, that certainly does change matters. I can't say the prosecution's evidence is irrefutable, but there is still evidence that casts guilt upon the defendant. Damn it, you almost had it. There are far too many unanswered questions for me to pass a verdict. We will give law enforcement time to clear these unknowns. I suggest that they conduct their investigation more thoroughly this time. We will resume the trial tomorrow morning. Court is adjourned. Hello, Cuthbert. As you walk out of the courtroom with Celeste, you are greeted by Miss Tamora. Miss Tamora, you're here. You recall how you froze up during the first cross-examination. Every first-time attorney does that. You feel a little ashamed that your mentor saw all of that. Well, at the end of the day, you were able to pull it together. And once you did, you performed adequately. On that note, I wanted to give you this. Yep, she does absolutely only have the one spell. Right, and the edges become unnaturally sharp. So the blade itself shouldn't have looked different in that crime scene photo. My spell compendium. I swapped it from the dining area before the Inquisition arrived. I thought it would be best for you to have it. So, this is your spell compendium. And it only has one spell. Mage Blade. This means the prosecution has to prove that Celeste used that specific spell. It will restrict how they approach this case, which gives you an edge over them. But that prosecutor is really something. You mean Prosecutor Steelwind. You can still remember her ripping glare. It gives you chills just thinking about it. You wouldn't even know it, but this was also her first trial. Really. I'd thought that her inexperience would make for a good first opponent. But that girl, she's a natural in the courtroom. It makes me wonder why a Steelwind would choose to become an attorney in the first place. What do you mean? The Steelwinds are a powerful noble house. Of the noble families, they are one of the few who answer directly to the king. Most members of their house take high-ranking positions in the kingdom's military. So it's a bit strange that she chose to become a prosecutor despite that. Steelwind. I feel like I've heard it somewhere before. In any case, it's best that you focus on the trial. You have about a day until court resumes. Right, now that I have time, I'd like to ask you some questions, Celeste. Namely about that argument you had with your father. Oh. You see the bailiff staring daggers at Celeste. It looks like they're waiting to take her back to her cell. Whatever questions you have for her will have to wait. I should probably go. Celeste walks away while avoiding eye contact with you. Bringing up her argument with Flintheart may have struck a nerve. I'll also use this opportunity to investigate the crime scene. I wouldn't be surprised if the Inquisition missed something. You utterly embarrassed them today. Don't expect them to make the same mistake twice. Right. There are still a lot of things we don't know about. As much as I hate to admit it, your skills of deduction far surpass mine. That's amazing. If anyone can figure out what really happened that night, it's you. I mean, we are the protagonist? Putting this in save 1. You arrive back at McCoy Tavern. Luckily for you, the Inquisition set up a teleportation circle for you to use. With that circle, you can magically teleport between the capital and the crime scene instantaneously. It's definitely miles better than having to travel by carriage. Oh, it's you. What are you doing here? Commander White takes notice of you as you enter the tavern. It looks like he's working with a team of knights to investigate the crime scene. I'm the defense attorney in this case. I have as much right to investigate this crime scene as you do. Yeah, whatever. Just remember, I got my eye on you, kid. Okay, just because I can, I want to see what happens when I present the runestone. What do you think about this? I don't what you're expecting me to say. Not much to say about that. It'd be best to try something else. I mean, might as well take a look. This is probably where Flintheart died. I'd say definitely where Flintheart died. The outline matches the picture that the Inquisition took. Nothing seems out of place here. Oh, good. It tells me what I've investigated. The Inquisition lit some candles, but there's a magical lamp right there. I wonder why they're not using those instead. There's a modern-looking lamp mounted to the wall. It's a lamp powered by artificery. I didn't expect to find something this sophisticated in a town like this. Artificery is just another form of magic. Actually, artificery draws from surrounding ley lines too. I didn't ask for a science lesson, kid. Anyways, look where the artificery got these folks. The arcane power cell broke, and they haven't had any power for weeks. Yep. Nothing can beat good old oil and flame. Broken power cell. Added to your notes. Which is good. I kind of like being able to check that stuff. I should probably look at these pictures too. It's a painting in a... It's a painting in a man. No. No. It's a painting of a man in a suit. There's some text on it. Adam Eveleigh, politician of the Pedantic. I've heard of this guy. He's some kind of politician from one of the nations west of here. I heard he's pretty much a shoo-in to win whatever election they have going there. An election. Was Flintheart studying democracies for his own revolution? I wouldn't be surprised. It's a painting of a mage, and there's some text on it. Somalia Daglian. Samala Daglian, a legendary practitioner of the arcane arts. He mysteriously disappeared one day. It is rumored that he was developing a formula for a new transmutation spell. However, he was reckless in casting the spell, and Daglian quickly lost control of his magic. His body was never found. Many speculate that he didn't actually die in the accident, but if that's true, where did he end up? Sounds like a cautionary tale against using magic. That might explain why Flintheart keeps it in his tavern. Okay. I guess that just leaves the particles here. Broken bottle on the floor. It shattered close enough to the chalk outline of the body. The label has the words lotus juice on it. I've never heard of that brand before. Must be foreign. Shattered bottle of a lotus juice has been added to notes. I believe that everything I can examine. So then, let's ask him some questions. I was wondering if I could ask you some questions about the case. As if I'd help the likes of you. I saw who your boss is, and I know what you're up to. That witch probably sent you here to con me. But I'm just looking for information. A likely story. He was cooperative before when he let you see Celeste. Why is he being so stubborn now? Is he angry that you embarrassed him in court today? Probably. In any case, you won't get anywhere at this rate. If you want his help, you're going to need to persuade him through an argument. Psychological profile. It helps to prepare before starting an argument. Talk to Urim or present items to him that build a psychological profile for him. If you successfully fill the profile gauge, you'll receive more information during any arguments with him. Alright. Right, he had nothing to say about that. The autopsy report seems to be pretty detailed in some aspects, and vague in others. Why is that? I'm not sure about the details, but the autopsy is performed by a mage who studies divination. Their magic gives us details about how someone dies, but there's always a few blind spots. Blind spots like what? Well, for one thing, if someone mucks around with the body after death, the report becomes muddled. Divination magic can tell what happened to... voice crack. Divination magic can tell what happened to a body, but not in what order and at what times. But someone definitely stabbed Flameheart's body with Celeste's sword. If what he's saying is true, it will be that much harder to figure out what kind of weapon originally killed them. That mage's sword really is strange. It's almost a shame that we had to confiscate it. Is it really that abnormal? It's definitely not like any sword I've seen. I wonder if it was forged in the Eastern Kingdoms. What do you think about this? Okay, he's got nothing to say about the photo. I've never seen a real spell compendium before. I'm still not exactly sure how they work. Well, spell compendiums are magical devices that display exactly which spells a mage can cast. You can probably guess, but the Inquisition uses these things all the time. Right, having that information is definitely a blessing for the defense and the prosecution. This place has been without power for a week. I wonder if there's any information I can infer from that. They've been using candles to keep this place lit. This is exactly why you can't rely on magic. I wonder what lotus juice is. It's definitely not any drink that I have heard of. It must be some kind of imported brand. So, what does the Arcane Inquisition do exactly? You trying to pick a fight with me? No? I'm just genuinely curious. Well, I'm sure you already know, but us Inquisitors investigate crimes that involve magic. Do crimes like this happen often? Nah, maybe once in a blue moon. It makes sense. Most mages are in the nobility, after all. Even if they're untouchable, they don't make a habit of getting into trouble with the law. You must have an easy job then. You got that right. The only reason we exist is to clean up the nobility's messes. He doesn't seem that happy about that. Mages. Commander White, you seem to speak negatively about my client's magic. Do you have a personal grudge against mages? You're damn right I do. Wow, he didn't even try to deny it. And if you had any sense, you would too. I'm pretty sure I am one, considering the Eye of Horus. All a mage has to do is wave their hands and say some magic nonsense. And then you suddenly have a dead body on the ground. Not entirely sure that works that way, but okay. And don't get me started on mage light. If some noble uses their magic too much, they end up snapping and going on a rampage. I don't know if this is going too far, but why join the Inquisition if you hate mages so much? Considering the fact that, that my job is to sweep the nobility's crimes under the rug. So, sorry, I didn't mean to insinuate. Nope, you have the right of it. Anytime a noble is involved in a case, I'm ordered to look the other way. You don't seem very happy to do that. Why would you stay in this line of work? Because every once in a while I'm allowed to put a criminal mage behind bars. We can't go after the nobles, but any other mage is fair game. Or at least they were before your boss showed up. Your boss, does he have something against Miss Tamora? I'd say he very clearly does, yeah. I have to ask, did something happen between you and Miss Tamora? Miss Tamora. What are you, her lackey or something? No, actually, she's my guardian. Oh. I didn't know she even had a... Look, kid. I don't know what the deal is between you two, but no good will ever come from associating with her. This is about the rumors, isn't it? Throughout the years, there have been several insidious rumors surrounding Miss Tamora. She's been accused of forgery, blackmail, and all manner of illegal activities. It's clearly misinformation spread by the nobility to discredit her. I don't know, that there may be some, going in completely blind, but there may be some credibility to the, forgery stuff, considering other games like this. But oh well. She's always been fine with it, but you can't help but get angry on her behalf. It's more than just rumors, I've seen it for myself. That woman is evil, kid. She defends mages who don't have the protection of the nobility. She's not evil, she's a hero. Yeah, whatever. Orm White, social link. Yes, totally. This is Persona now. Now, the psychological profile is complete. Good. Time for an argument. Commander White seems unusually hostile towards you. And you have a feeling it's not just because you embarrassed him in court today. If you can clear up a misunderstanding, you might be able to convince him to help you. I have no other options here, so why not? Alright, I'm just gonna come out and say it. Do you have a problem with me, Commander White? You should know exactly what my problem with you is. I saw who you work for. Do I have to spell it out for you? Ruby Tamura is a crooked lawyer. Or does your boss not tell you what she gets up to? Elocutions in arguments. Arguments are not always fought through hard evidence. Sometimes you need to elocute to convince your opponent that their claim is wrong. When prompted for an elocution, choose from one of the 3 possible responses. The correct response can be gleaned from reading your opponent's psychological profile. I've opened his because I figured it would be important. Commander White is stubborn and stuck in his ways. He seems to have a grudge against Ruby Tamura and will react negatively if you try to defend her. He will, however, respect you if you defend yourself against personal attacks. Regardless of what Miss Tamura has done, I'm the one heading this case. You have no right to throw baseless accusations at me or Miss Tamura. It doesn't matter how you feel about me or Miss Tamura. What matters is my client deserves a fair trial with fair representation. Regardless of what Miss Tamura has done, I'm the one heading this case. Whatever problems you have with her, they have nothing to do with me. That still doesn't change the fact that you work for her. I've seen that woman do all kinds of shady shit in the cases I've worked. Forgery, bribery, blackmail, you name it. You're just a normal drunk. I bet you're the same, a successor for Devil of Defense Attorney. Okay, my options are, I'm not Ruby Tamura. Regardless of what you've seen her do, I'm going to run an honest case. Me being her successor has nothing to do with it. Forgery, bribery, blackmail. Have you seen me do any of these things? Because all I've done so far is point out the mistakes you've made. Look, kid, I'd like nothing more than to believe you, but everything I've seen her do, I know better. I have no reason to trust you. Anyone taught by that woman can't be anything more than a crook. Nothing that I've done has given you any reason to suspect me. Have you seen me engage in any crook-like behavior? Right now, I'm just a defense attorney, and it's asking you for information. Nothing that I've done has given you any reason to suspect me. Argument 1. No damage taken. You just wanted some info, right? Yeah, that's all I'm asking for. Alright, I'll answer your questions. Just don't make me regret this. You've successfully persuaded Orem Light. This probably goes without saying, but I don't believe the sword is the murder weapon. Right. I guess you have to prove that someone else put the sword there. Did the Inquisition find anything suspicious on the scene? If you're asking if we found another body, well, they didn't find that either, but bloody weapon lying around, they definitely didn't. That would be a little too convenient, wouldn't it? But let's say that the girl really is being framed. If there was a murder weapon, the killer probably walked out with it. Do you think they could have hidden it somewhere in the tavern? Doubt it. After the trial, Steelwind turned the place upside down and scanned it with her magic. If someone did hide a murder weapon here, they hid it well. Or they hid it in plain sight. Orem's mistake. I can't believe you made such an obvious mistake during your investigation. Oh, shut it with that. I already got an earful from Steelwind about that mess. Well, you don't have to worry about me mucking things up. Steelwind's basically taken over the entire investigation. Wait, does she have the authority to do that? I mean, Ace Attorney prosecutors do, I wouldn't be surprised. Normally she wouldn't, but I know better than to go against orders from a noble. Right. There's a strange power dynamic between them. But honestly, that girl sweats the details too much. She even had my men draw up a scaled map of the crime scene. Wait, really? Do you have a copy? Sure, knock yourself out. Don't know how much good it'll do you. Oh, in this type of game, maps come in very handy. Crime scene map has been added to your testimony. To your testimony. No, wrong word. Notes. Or evidence. I heard that this was Prosecutor Steelwind's first trial. She must be pretty talented if that's true. A pain in my ass is what she is. That damn noble comes in here telling me how to do my job. Honestly, I honestly have no idea what she's even doing in this line of work. I heard she's from a renowned noble house. She must be a pretty powerful mage. Powerful is an understatement. The Steelwinds who came before her could turn this entire town into a glass crater. What? There's no way that's true, right? You think you found everything you can here. But what does it all mean? There's no weapon to be found here. and there's no obvious evidence of another person at the scene. Hey, you okay? You got all quiet all of a sudden. Alright, just focus. Close your eyes, and let everything else disappear from the world. Hey, you listening? So, there's no evidence to point to another killer. There is, however, evidence pointing to how Flintheart moved before his death. What? What can we tell about how Flintheart died? There's no blood trail leading to or from the body. What does that imply about the location of Flintheart's death? Flintheart didn't move after the murder. No, there was no what? Oh. Well, Flintheart didn't move during the murder. Flintheart died where he was attacked. He didn't move from his position at all. Yeah, I guess you're right. There's also the autopsy report, which says that he died from a stab from behind. He was probably caught off guard and was too incapacitated to move anywhere else. This means that the attack happened at the exact position he fell over. Crime scene map has been updated. There's also a shattered bottle of lotus juice. How did the bottle shatter? I mean, we know the answer. It was Flintheart's bottle. He dropped it when he was attacked. Flintheart dropped the bottle when he was attacked. From that, we can infer that he was holding it the moment before he was attacked. Shattered bottle of lotus juice has been updated in your notes. What's so strange about one bottle, though? It may seem like an insignificant detail, but that detail could help me infer other elements of what happened during the murder. Right. There's also the fact that the artificery lights were out. Were these candles here when you arrived at the crime scene, or... No, we had to light them. We had to light some so we could see the crime scene properly. We thought it was weird too. The girl and her father must have had their argument in pitch black darkness. What can we infer about the state of the crime scene? So, they didn't light any candles to make up for the broken lights. The crime scene... It had no lighting. After the murder. No. Right. crime scene had no lighting during the murder. Broken power cell has been updated in your notes. The argument that Celeste had with Flintheart must have been spontaneous. They weren't planning to have a conversation in this room. In this darkness, Flintheart wouldn't have a lot of visibility. If he was stabbed from behind, he probably didn't see it coming. He was clearly surprised, was probably in too much shock to run away. Also, the bottle may seem insignificant, but he was holding it when he was attacked. Maybe he was pouring a drink for himself, or maybe it was for a visitor. Either way, the assailant must have been unseen by Flintheart. Kid. Or the assailant attacked him from his blind spot while his back was turned. Why would his back be turned, though? Was he distracted by something? Kid. What? What was that all about? Sorry, sometimes I get lost in my own thoughts. Yeah, well, cut it out. You're freaking me out. Right. Anyways, you think you've found everything you can here. You should move somewhere else. I want to take a look upstairs. If people keep seeing you here, they're going to start asking questions. Leave the investigation to me. All you have to do is stay quiet until the trial is over. While heading upstairs, you spot the prosecutor having a conversation with someone. They seem to be in some kind of argument. Enough. I will do as I see fit. You may be a steel wind, but this is my land. Oh, sorry. Oh, you're that defense attorney from the trial. I am. I'm sorry, but who... how rude of me. My name is Lord Garrick Pierce, the ruling noble of this land. Occupation nobleman. As the ruling noble, I suppose I should thank you for playing your role in the current trial, as misguided as it may be. I suppose whoops, that's me. I suppose that you also think that my client's guilty. It doesn't matter what I think. This entire scandal has done nothing but rile up the common folk. Magic is a gift for the nobility and the nobility alone. It is a symbol of the aristocracy and our divine right to rule. And now that bastard child has tainted that symbol in the public eye. All of that has nothing to do with her. She's just an innocent woman who got wrapped up in all this. Even if she is innocent, the charges have been laid and made public. Someone must take the fall, lest the public accuse the justice system of corruption. So you're saying that she should be found guilty even if she's innocent? What do you suppose will happen if she's acquitted? all the public will see is a mage going free despite a myriad of evidence. That alone would be enough to cause public outrage. Tensions between the aristocracy and the common folk are high enough as is. What is one insignificant girl when compared to the state of our great kingdom? That's enough. Stop antagonizing him, Pierce. I can't refute what he said, but I don't agree with it. What? The system should be based on proof and justice, not on public opinion. Then why are you working against my client? Do you honestly think she's the kind of person that would kill her father? It doesn't matter what kind of person she appears to be. The evidence clearly points to her as the only possible killer. But you should fight according to your own ideals. Just as I shall fight for mine. It's hard to get a read on that woman. I am going to take a look around. Several doors lead to guest rooms. Aside from the rooms that you and Miss Tamori used, they don't look like they've been open for quite some time. There are some candles lighting up the hallway. They look like they used to be part of the old architecture. There's a door at the end of the hallway. It looks like it's seen some use recently. You tried to open the door, but it seems to be locked. Perhaps someone might have a key to open it. Alright, I think that's all I can do. Let's see, nope. Oh, Cuthbert, you're back already. Sorry, I guess I'm a little lost about where to go next. Well, I suppose I can give you some guidance this time. I don't think I need the assistance. I think it's pretty obvious I need to go. Yeah, I know where the next gate is. To the barracks. You return to the cell that Celeste is being kept in. The ambient despair in the air fills your mind like a horrendous stench. You do your best to ignore the emotions of the older prisoners, but you haven't had much practice blocking out this many people. As you arrive, you see Celeste huddled down in a corner. As soon as she sees you, her dour mood seems to lift, if only for a moment. Oh, hi, Mr. Cuthbert. There's no need to address me so formally. Just call me Tyrion. Okay. Anyways, I came here to ask you about the case. Right. That's a pretty strange sword. I've never seen anything like it. Do you like it? I got it as it's a souvenir I got when I was traveling the Eastern Kingdoms. Wait, you've been to the Eastern Kingdoms? I thought Wyvern Guard had a strict policy preventing people from crossing the border. Well, I didn't exactly enter illegally. You glance at the guard of the cell. He doesn't seem to be paying attention. Please don't make a habit of telling people that. You're in enough trouble as it is. Yeah. Could you tell me more about this? You don't know what to say. Okay. Damn. Autopsy? You probably shouldn't show this to her. She's been through enough already. Okay, fair enough. Right, more of the same. Mage Blade. It's a spell that magically sharpens my sword so it can cut through blade armor. Why would you even need to use a spell like that? Well, it's not just for blade armor. I can cut through all kinds of things with it. Trees, boulders, ballista, fortified gates. It cuts through most of these things like butter. You start to wonder what kind of life she led before the case. Can you tell me more about this? No, she can't. You probably shouldn't be showing... Okay, what about the broken power cell? I didn't expect to find artificery in a village like yours. Yeah, I bought it for my family to make their lives easier. But I think it just made things more complicated. Yeah. Without an arcane power cell, those lights aren't very useful. I'm sorry about freezing up like that. I almost lost us the trial. No, there's no need to apologize. You did great. Right. But I still don't understand, though. Why were there traces of magic on my dad's body? Right, those traces of magic were on the sword and the body. Magical traces are particles of magical residue that are left behind when a mage casts a spell. They only linger for 48 hours, and that gives you a rough timeline of when and where a spell is cast. Did you cast Mage Blade on your sword that day? I did. I usually cast it when I train in the morning. And that explains why there was a trace on the sword, at least. Did the trace on my sword leave the magical trace on my dad's body? No, magical traces can't be removed around physically. For a spell to leave a trace, it has to be active when physical contact is made. Really? What does that mean then? Whatever killed your father had a transmutation spell active on it at the time. The magical trace on your sword was an unlucky coincidence. I can't believe this. Could you tell me about your father? Sorry, I know this must be difficult after everything that's happened. No, it's okay. If it helps, I'll try my best to answer your questions. Were you too close? We were. I'm sure you know this by now, but I was adopted by him and my mom. But even though I didn't have their blood, they treated me as if I did. He loved me with all his heart until what? Does this have something to do with the argument they had? I'm sorry to say this, but I could hear your argument from my room that night. Could you tell me what happened? For as long as I can remember, my dad has hated mages. I'm not sure why, but if you even mentioned magic around him, he'd fly into a rage. So I hid my magic from my family. But why even learn magic in the first place? If you really wanted to, you could have gone your whole life without using it. Ever since our tavern closed, my family's been in a lot of debt. I decided to become a mercenary and use the magic to enhance my ability to fight. Most mages are in the nobility, so people will pay a lot for a sellsword who can use magic. So that's why she's a mercenary. Celeste's occupation has been updated. But I now know learning magic was the biggest mistake I've ever made. On that night, my dad found my spell compendium, and when he confronted me about it, I finally came clean to him. That's when he threw into another one of his rages. He shouted at me, he told me that I'd betrayed him and his family. I'm so sorry, I can't imagine how that must have felt. I deserved every bit of it. I knew how much he hated magic, but I learned to use it anyway. He showed me so much love, and I just threw it all away. But don't say that, I'm sure he still loved you. Now, I could see it in his eyes. He hated me, and he died hating me. You feel a sharp pain in your chest as you see that thought. So there's a locked room in the tavern. It's at the very end of the hallway upstairs. The Inquisition probably searched it already, but I wanted to investigate just to make sure. A locked room at the end of the hallway? I think that's my room. You know how I could get in there? It's the only room in the tavern I haven't investigated. You feel a suspicious gaze from Celeste. What's that look for? I'm your lawyer. I'm not going to do anything weird. Sorry, you're right. Here, you can use this key to get inside. Okay, let's go snoop around her bedroom. Use the key to enter Celeste's room. However, you're startled when you notice that someone else is already inside. I've already told you knights everything I know. What more do you... Oh, aren't you Celeste's attorney? I am? Who are you? Oh, how rude of me. I'm Julian McCoy. I'm Celeste's mother. Occupation, unemployed. How was that trial this morning? I can't thank you enough for everything that you've done for my daughter. So, this is Celeste Small. She might be able to tell you more about Flintheart. About that, do you mind if I ask some questions for my investigation? Of course, I'll do anything I can to help. Well, before you do, might as well. It's a door leading to the upstairs hallway. Oh, gee, I thought it led from the upstairs to the basement. It's a fancy-looking bed. Celeste had it custom-made. Wouldn't something like this be really expensive? It was. I was really surprised when she returned from her travels. Apparently, she was making a lot of gold from her job as a mercenary. Well, You and Flintheart must have been happy for her. We are, but I still wish... We are, but I still wish she'd get a less dangerous job. Fair enough. It's a painting of a woman with some sort of aquatic animal. Oh, I love that painting. Celeste brought it back from her travels. Supposedly, that woman was named Madeline Kipling. From what I've heard, she runs a wildlife sanctuary for endangered species. I think the animal in the painting is called a fakip. Celeste told me that she really likes them. That's interesting. You weren't even aware that these creatures even existed. It's a table with several chairs. It must be used for entertaining guests. It doesn't look like it's seen much use, though. Okay, I think that's... Yes, that's absolutely everything I can take a look at. Could you tell me about this? Nope. No one can tell me about my attorney's runestone. Right, shouldn't show that to her. Can you tell me more about... Nope. If only I'd tell Flintheart about Celeste's powers. Maybe we could have avoided all this. You shouldn't torture yourself with the hypotheticals. You did what you thought was right. I suppose you have a point. Can't tell me about the map. It's such a shame that the bottle shattered. Flintheart was really looking forward to surprising Celeste. It was probably his last gift to her. It's too bad it's become part of the crime scene. I heard that you've been using artificery to light up your house. Yes, Celeste was insistent. Honestly, Flintheart and I didn't see the appeal. But she was so excited to install it, we just couldn't say no. It is a bit of a problem now. The machine powers the lights always breaks. I'm still surprised that Celeste is a mercenary. It's not the first job I'd take to support my family. I think that it fits her. She had a habit of picking fights with people when she was a child. Oh, I didn't expect that. She may be adopted, but she's definitely Flintheart's daughter. Could you tell me more about the key? Nope. It was worth checking. Okay. Right, he got mad because of Celeste being a mage. Okay, Flintheart had a sister named Happy. When we were all children, we were friends with a boy named Garrick Pierce. He was the son of the ruling noble at the time. Right, Garrick Pierce, that's the guy we saw before. We were all inseparable at the time. He'd always sneak into town with us against his family's wishes. They probably weren't too happy about that. He was quite rebellious back then. but he's a completely different person now. But everything changed when Garrick began learning how to use magic. One day, when we were playing, he wanted to show off the spells that he'd learned. He told us not to use his magic without... He was told not to use his magic without his instructor there, but he was just too excited. He began casting spells, but something went horribly wrong. He lost control of his magic and fatally wounded Effie. We tried bringing her back into town, but by that time it was too late. She was already gone. I'm sorry, that must have been traumatizing for you. The next day, the Arcane Inquisition came to investigate what happened. House Pierce used their connections to cover up what happened. They even threatened Flynnhart's family to keeping quiet. After that, the official story was that Effie had been mauled by a wolf. That's not surprising. Nobility seldom take responsibility for their own actions, even for a mistake like that. Flynnhart's sister has been added to your notes. Something changed in Flynnhart after all that. He began speaking out against the nobility. Eventually, he started hosting rallies in this very tavern. Each night, more and more people began listening to his words, joining his cause. The number of people he'd gotten under his banner was terrifying. There was even talk of an outright revolution against the kingdom. That might explain why someone would go out of their way to kill him. I knew how much danger he was putting himself in, but no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't convince him to stop. His attitude didn't even begin to change when we adopted Celeste. Can you tell me more about Celeste? How did she become a part of your family? It all happened many years ago, back when McCoy Tavern was still open. We were closing one night and found a baby with white hair abandoned in the dining area. We waited weeks for parents to come by, but no one ever came looking for her. And that baby was Celeste. Yes. Reinhardt and I always wanted a child. I thought that Celeste must have been a gift from the Steel Board. But one day I saw Celeste practicing her magic. I think that's when I realized that someone from the nobility must have abandoned her at our inn. I didn't care though, I loved her all the same. I'm sure Flynnhart did too. Wait, you knew that she was a mage all this time? I did. You haven't known her for very long, but she's a terrible liar. Flynnhart must have noticed it too, but I think he didn't want to believe it. It's my fault. I should have forced him to see the truth. I spoke with Celeste earlier. She thinks that her father hated her because she was a mage. There's no way he would ever feel that way. He loved her more than anything in the world. No matter what he said to her that night, nothing would ever change that. After seeing them together, you figured as much. Celeste was the world to him. When we adopted her, it was the first time in decades that I'd seen him so genuinely happy. They must have been really close. More than anything. you want to hear a story? Celeste had just returned from her travels. She wouldn't stop talking about this foreign drink that she loved. I think it was called lotus juice or something like that. Well, Flintheart did everything he could to have it shipped here. He called in a bunch of favors with some of his revolutionary friends. But in the end, he was only able to get a single bottle of it. Is it really that rare? Yes, I wouldn't be surprised if it were the only bottle of lotus juice in the region. Wait a minute, lotus juice. Is this the bottle that Flintheart bought? You show her a picture of the shattered bottle found next to Flintheart's body. It is. Oh no, he was going to surprise her with it. I found the broken pieces next to Flintheart's. Well, I found them in the dining area. That's strange. He'd been keeping it in our room so she wouldn't find it. Really? When was the last time you saw it? Right before I left the house that night. It was right before their big argument. So it wasn't just laying around the bar. He decided to retrieve it after the argument. Alright, you think you've investigated everything you can for now. But there's still one last thing you need to do. You ready yourself for one last conversation with Celeste. Oh, you're back. Did you forget something? Actually, there's one last thing I want to talk to you about. Oh, earlier you said something that I just can't let go. You said that your father died hating you. But after everything I heard about him, I don't think that's true. Your father loved you, Celeste, even in his final moments. You desperately want to reach her. If she keeps believing that he hated her, that thought will eat away at her for the rest of her life. You know that better than anyone. He's lying just to make me feel better. But it looks like it won't be that simple. You need to win an argument against her if you want her to see the truth. It is time. Let's argue. I know you're just trying to make me feel better, and I really do appreciate it, but everyone knows that my father hated mages. He's always hated magic. And there's no reason behind it. Well, I have evidence that contradicts that. I don't know if it's my place to say this, but there's a reason why your father hated magic so much. What? When Flintheart was a child, he had a younger sister. She was tragically killed by a mage decades ago. That's why he had such an immense hatred for magic. I never knew. But that doesn't change anything. That's all the more reason for him to have hated me. It was selfish of me to learn magic. No, it was not. No, it was not. Okay. It's either going to be Power Cell or this. I'll try this first. But you didn't learn magic to benefit yourself, did you? You learned it to save your family after your tavern was shut down. You're a good person, Celeste. And you did everything you could to help your family. I'm sure your father recognized that. Just shut up. What? Shut up. Just stop it. You weren't there. You didn't hear what he said to me. In his final moments, he could only think of how I betrayed him. Take a look at this picture, Celeste. What? A shattered bottle. Wait, is that a bottle of lotus juice? Do you know where I found this? On the floor of your family's inn. What? That can't be true. I tried to find it here, but no one sells it in a wyvern yard. Your father knew how much you loved this drink. He called in quite a few favors just so he could have it imported for you. What? He did that? Your father didn't hate you, Celeste. He loved you more than anything. That doesn't change anything. If he did that all for me, it was before he knew about my secret. I'm sure he never would have done that if he knew the truth. That's not true at all. What the hell would you know about him? You barely even knew him. How could you possibly know how he felt about me? Don't you think I want to believe that he still loved me before he died? But I know the truth. There was no way he could ever forgive me for what I did. It's not just the fact that he bought that drink for you. It's also where the bottle was when it shattered. What do you mean? Your mother said that the bottle was stowed in her room before your argument. But I found the shattered bottle in the lobby, where his body was. I ran into him before I went to look for you. He was going upstairs to his room. That can only mean one thing. He went to retrieve the bottle after your argument ended. What? Why would he have it? It's because he was going to give it to you, Celeste. He was going to give you a gift to apologize for what he said to you. He was going to apologize. Your father loved you, Celeste, and as tragic as it is, he was going to try to apologize to you before he was murdered. I don't like this. My daughter working as a mercenary of all things. Come on, Dad. You know I can handle myself. I don't doubt it. But you still shouldn't have to risk your neck for our sakes. They closed the inn, Dad. We won't be able to survive unless I do this. Just be careful, okay? I don't know what I'd do if anything happened to you. No matter what anyone says, you're our daughter. And we'll love you until the day we die. Dad, how could I ever think that? I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. Dad. Celeste had barely been keeping it together throughout the whole argument, but her realization is finally causing her to break down. She begins crying loudly. She quickly embraces you. In this cold, dark place, She probably hadn't felt any warmth of any kind for days. You're caught off guard and feel a little embarrassed, but you comfort her. Well, she vents her emotions. Argument 1. Are you feeling better? Yeah. I think I'm okay now. I've been thinking such horrible things this entire time. She looks at you and gives you a warm smile. It's probably the first time you've seen her genuinely smile since this whole ordeal started. Thank you. But is everything really going to be okay? I'll make sure of it. I'll get justice for you and your father. It doesn't matter who stands in my way. Even if they're a man, king, or god. You're completely different now. What happened to the nervous wreck from before? Please forget about that. Anyways, take some time to rest. The trial is going to resume soon. With that, you've done everything you can for now. You've learned a lot about what happened the night of the murder. You just hope it's enough. But even with your investigation, you still don't know what the prosecution has planned. Has Pierce told you all the details, Mr. Rudolph? Will you remember them? Yes, I pride myself on my eidetic memory. Just so there are no misunderstandings, I do not approve of this. You said it yourself, Lady Steelwind. There's no possible way that I could have done the deed. It has to be the bastard child. We don't know what sort of tricks Ruby Tamura might pull tomorrow. Just see this as a way of securing a just verdict. And with that, I will be saving, and next episode, episode 3, or, no, this was episode 3. Episode 4, we continue the trial. See you then.